Hey everybody, what's up? David here, and this is going to be a sort of like a product review on the 13th Age core rulebook, and we're also going to go ahead and do a overview of all the chapters inside of the core rulebook. So let's go ahead and get started, and hopefully the storm that I'm having here is not going to knock out the power. So we're going to get started and try to push through this. So the first thing, 13th Age. It's been out for a little over 2 years now, and I've had it since it's came out, but it kind of sat on my shelf for a little while. But it seems like I've been reading more and more about 13th Age, all of the products. It has a robust line of products now, everything from a second core book to a bestiary to, a massive published adventure that is actually bigger than the two core books and the bestiary. It has a subscription that you can get that's on it now its second year. It has a public play system in your local game stores. Guys, it has a new DM screen, all kinds of adventures coming out. 13th Age is a really good game, and I really feel that it is a very underrated game. It does use the D20 OGL, but it has a lot of cool twists to it. And the authors of the game are Rob Heinzu, which was the director of D&D 4th edition, or the manager of 4th edition, and Jonathan Tweet. And Jonathan Tweet was the manager during D&D 3rd edition, I believe. And the art, they basically have two artists, very, very good artists. Lee Moyer, he's been around for a long time, and then Aaron McConnell, which I believe is the apprentice of Lee Moyer. And they pretty much do all of the art, not only in the core book, but the 13th Age, 13 True Ways, the bestiary, and they do a bang-up job on the art. So let's go ahead and take a look at first the physical book, as you can see here. And then once we kind of take a look at the book, I'm going to switch over to the digital format because whenever you get this from the Pelgrane Press website, they are in the 21st century, guys. Whenever you buy a book from Pelgrane Press, you also get the PDF. I like that. More companies should follow that suit, and hey, I'm all for that. So, 13th Age, 320-page core rulebook. This is just our core rulebook. And the quality is really nice, guys. I've had this book for 2 years. The book is in immaculate shape still. It has not fallen apart. No pages have fallen out like in other core books that have came out before this book after this book came out. And like I said, it's a great book. This has basically everything in it. This is the entire game. You don't need anything else to play. All you need is this core book. It has everything for players, the robust class system that it has. It has all of the Dungeon Master stuff, all of the stuff to put encounters together, all of the formulas to create monsters, all of the numbers involved. It has all of the magic items, how to create your own magic items, because that's what they want you to do. And this game has a lot of information on roleplay. This game is based on roleplay. They want you to roleplay, and their class creation definitely reflects on that, and a lot of their adventures reflect on roleplay. And that is what has really gotten me into 13th Age, especially over the last year. And I'm really happy to show you guys this, and you guys have been asking for a while now. So within the cover, there is a Dragon Empire map. Now this is the original map that came out. It does not have the roads on it, but there is a new map that came out with the Dungeon Master screen that has the updated map with all of the road systems on it. So not really a big deal. And you're going to see that, hey, guys, this is like a really high quality book. As you can see, the pages are very high gloss. It is a very thick weighted paper. And like I said, I've had this book for 2 years now, and this thing has not even started to show that it's going to fall apart yet. It's a really nice book, very nice nice table of contents that really breaks everything down by classes, every single chapter. And like I said, we're going to take a look at this in digital format because it's just going to appear nicer on the screen for you guys. Now, 13th Age is how Rob and Jonathan say that this game is a game for experienced players and experienced game masters. I agree to disagree with that, even though it does have some advanced mechanics for the classes. It also has some basic classes, that would also be great for first-time players, and it is a very easy rule set to learn. And we're going to go over. I'm going to show you guys all the cool things, all the quirks about the rules. We're going to talk about all this. So, but anyways, like I said, guys, this is a very, very, very good game. 13th Age. It has 13 living icons, which are the most powerful living people in the world, the Dragon Empire. So, but as you can see, the art, beautiful. And there's pretty much art just about on every page. And you can see that it just, the gloss comes off of the paper. It's really nice, really it's actually thicker paper than what would normally be in your, your Pathfinder and your D&D books. And as you can see, for a 320-page book, this book is actually, it's really thick, and it's a really, really heavy book. So this is it. I believe this is $44.95 on Pelgrane, and I know that they also run specials, and you get the PDF also. So great deal. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the digital version now, so you can see everything much cleaner and much better. All right, everybody. So we're back, and this is the digital PDF version of it that comes with the book whenever you purchase it from the Pelgrane.com website. Like I said, I think it's about $40 bucks, $45, and then they also mail you a book too, which is, like I said, really good quality. All right, so the art cover, really nice. It has, they thank a lot of the testers and the play testers, the Kickstarters, and all that good stuff. And here's the contents. Now, Chapter 1, and we're going to kind of go over each one of these chapters because I want to talk about the game too. I just don't want to say, hey, it's a great quality book, just buy it, because this is actually a really good game, guys. And it's a very underrated game, and I think it's going to get more popular in the future. So Chapter 1 talks all about the icons. Like I said, 13th Age, there's 13 living icons, and they are basically the living gods of the game. They don't have any kind of, 13th Age has no supplements on the deities or gods. That's up to the Dungeon Master or the Game Master, as it's called in 13th Age. And if they want to incorporate their own pantheons or whatnot, they can do that. But gods are really talked about in a broad basis, as in who created the world? The gods did. Or who created the mountain ranges? Who created the bodies of water? The gods. It's just spoken as the gods, and I really like that. So there's 13 icons, and that's for the first chapter, and they all have their own symbols, and they are the Archmage, the Crusader, the Diabolist, the Dwarf King, the Elf Queen, the Emperor, the Great Gold Worm, the High Druid, the Lich King, and it's not Arthas from World of Warcraft. It has the Orc Warlord, or the Orc Lord, the Priestess, the Prince of Shadows, and the Three. Now, the icons have a bearing on everything in the game. They are actually, their locations, some may be in capital cities, some may be in forest, some may be in mountain ranges, but on the Dragon Empire map, both the original map that's on the inside of the cover and also the digital map that has been redone by Lee Moyer, it has all of the locations where those icons would be located. Now, the icons affect many things in the game. The icons affect the adventures, and usually all of the published adventures have relationships with the icons to the adventure itself. So if you're going to be helping the Archmage, then you're probably going to be making the Diabolist mad, or probably the Orc Lord, or one of the more evil type of living icons. Or and I really like that. I like how they take these icons and just wrap everything around them. Now, also, it will affect monsters in general. So if you're fighting dragons, some dragons may be allies with the three. Some may be allied with the Orc Lord, and it will it basically it works opposite. So if you're helping one icon, then you're pissing another icon off, and I really like that. And then there's going to be repercussions, and the game master has freedom to do what he or she wants, and especially in the bestiary, and I'm going to review that. And a little note on that, that's probably the most well put monster manual / bestiary I have ever seen. And I've been buying tabletop games since 1984 when I was a kid. So they did a great job on the 13th Age bestiary. And that's also going to be coming within the next couple days. So icons, they tie into magic items, adventures, monsters, everything. It's really nice. And then there's also a mechanic system that at the beginning of every game you will do your icon relationships, and we'll touch on that when the time comes as we're kind of going through the PDF. And now we'll talk about the character rules. It's just like creating a character in all of your other D20 games. You have your races. Your core races are like your human, dwarf, dark elf, or they call them, drow, or the drow, high elves, wood elves, gnomes, half elves, halflings, half orcs, and then there are some optional races like the tiefling, the dragonborn, the genasi, and then with the monthly subscription that they put out, every month you get like a 10 to 12 page professionally done PDF, and it looks just like the book. And I think in month number 2 of year 1, they actually gave you the option to be a Froglock race. Plus, in the bestiary, there's also several other monsters that give you the option of playing them as races as well. And it just basically makes the game more robust, and I really like that. Now, you choose your class. It does a point buy. One great thing, and in this game it has armor class, physical defense, mental defense. So basically they're attacking those numbers. There are saving throws in the game, but they are basically used for disengaging, which we'll talk about later, and also they have to do with death saving throws. Now, one cool thing about when you're making your character is you get to choose one unique thing. And here's some examples. Maybe your one unique thing is, I'm the oldest elf in the world. I mean, could you possibly be the oldest elf in the world? Possibly, but you need to talk about that in your background story. And I think the one unique thing is great. And you could do all kinds of things. Even one of my players, Pathfinder, from my campaign that I had last year, his one unique thing was he can lick his eyebrows. You can just do anything you want, within reason. And there are rules on what you can do and really what you can't do, because it does not affect any kind of numerical stats. It is just something for flavor and for roleplay purposes, basically. Licking your eyebrows. And it just keeps going on about, here's the icon relationships that I was talking to you about. Okay, now if you have the heroic icons, which are like basically your positive or your good icons. You have your ambiguous, which are the neutrals, and then you have the villainous, which are the evils. Now, at the start of every game, you're going to get to roll 3 6-sideds. And if you roll a 6, that means that sometime during the game, the game master owes you some information about something, whether it be you remember this from tutelage from your icon, or maybe maybe some informant will come along and tell you. But if you get sixes, then you'll get something happen. So if you roll 3 6s, you're going to have 3 really good things happen to you. If you roll 5s, good things can happen, but they'll be with a twist. All right? And it's really cool. And you can choose later on, you can choose more icons, and you can choose positive relationships, conflicted, and then negative relationships. So it's really good how they incorporate that into the game, because it creates role play. And that's what this game is all about, is creating role play. Now, we're just going to kind of go through this. The next thing that's really unique is the backgrounds and skill checks. And this is a portion of the game where it gives you a lot of freedom. And basically, when you write your background story, you come up with the areas that you are skilled with. As you know, it doesn't have your traditional 3.5, where Pathfinder D&D 3.5 has a list of 35 or 40 different skills that you put your rank points in. That doesn't work like that. Or it's not like 5e or 4e, where there's all these skill checks. You come up with them. So if you're going to have something like if you're going to play more like maybe an assassin type of background, then you would have 8 background points to put into, your background skill checks, and then they would give you bonuses. So you could have something like associated with stealth or sleight of hand, or maybe you are good with disguises, maybe you are a good negotiator. If you're going to play a bard, you could be like, your background is, you could be maybe you're a carnival performer, or if you were playing a ranger, maybe you were a tracker, and then you would come up with those skills that are associated with your background. You incorporate those in your background story, and voila, there's your bonuses that you get for the skill checks. It's really good. I like it. It gives the player a lot of freedom to come up with something. Now, in fact, one of my players in my first campaign was Miss Scarlet. She played a fighter, but yet she had great negotiating skills, because her background was she was a bouncer in taverns, and she would travel from tavern to tavern and be a hired hand. And usually she would be a hired hand when big acts came to town to perform, or dignitaries, or maybe ambassadors, and then she would be hired, and then she would have great negotiating skills. She would also have she had a great gambling skill, because she was involved with taverns and whatnot. She had a great drinking skill. So you just got to be creative with your backgrounds and skill checks, and that's the great thing about another great thing about 13th Age. Now, another thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the class system. There are 10 levels in 13th Age. And as we'll get to that in just a second, and I'm going to show you guys the feats. There are a ton of feats. There are general feats that you can take, anything that maybe a rapid reload, maybe precise shot, maybe improved initiative. So there are a lot of familiar type of feats, as you would call them, that are in other games, 3, 5, 4, 5, but they also have where you can upgrade your skills with adventure feats, champion feats, and the epic feats, which in this game, like I said, there are 10 levels, and there are 3 tiers. So tier 1 through 4 is the adventure tier. Levels 5, 6, and 7 is the champion tier, and then the epic tier is 8, 9, and 10. And you get feats for all of those tiers, which works out great. It balances out great. And then there's also a bunch of racial feats that you can get, the general feats, and then there are a whole slew of feats that you can get as a barbarian, bard, cleric, fighter, paladin, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, wizard. That's a lot of classes in a core rulebook. Really good. And you can upgrade your talents, your spells, all that stuff with feats. It's really good. They've got a pretty nice, robust weapon section, and also for the classes. Some, for example, say a sword would be based off of dex score for like maybe a rogue, but for a fighter, that same sword or dagger would be based off of strength. So it does cater to each individual class, which I love it. It's great. Now, also, we're going to take a look at the races. Now, in other D20 games, there is a whole slew of bonuses and things that people forget about that their race gets. In 13th Age, they keep it super simple. Now, as you can see here, here is the human. The human gets +2 to any ability score, and then they get a bonus feat at first level. That's all they get, except for they get a racial power, which is called Quick to Fight. And every class is built like that. There are no dark visions in this game. There are no light vision. There is no run speed. There is nothing in this game like that. And I really like that. It puts everybody on an even playing field. And it's in a non-traditional way that you're used to, like playing D&D or Pathfinder, and I really like that. So everybody is the same speed, unless you have like a magic item that would give you a little bit more speed, or that can make you fly. Everybody is blind in the dark, so everybody's going to have a torch or a light spell, or you could use, if you want to break out glow sticks like in 4E, you could create anything you want in this game, and it gives you the freedom to do so. And like I said, the races are really basic, and I like that. The dwarf, for instance, +2 con or +2 strength, +2 wisdom, and they also get a racial power. It's called That's Your Best Shot. That's it. I like it. And then you can also upgrade that with a champion feat. So that's what these little feats are here. You can upgrade that. I like it. And it has all the different races. So now let's take a look at the classes. The classes are really good. Like I said, I've already named all of the classes off. There's a whole slew of them. Like I said, there's Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Fighter, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Wizard. That's just in the core rulebook. There are this many classes in the second core rulebook called 13th Age, 13 True Ways, and that will be tomorrow's daily video, as I'll be going over that, but in a less extensive manner, and we'll be just taking a look at what's in that book, because the rules are in this book, and I really think that, as going over 13th Age, we'll talk about the cool rules and character creation and customization, and how roleplay is enforced, the icons, etc. and etc. So classes, like I said, there's only 10 levels, but it's really cool. I love the way that you really do get a lot of bonuses. So, for instance, here's the Barbarian. All right, level 1, they get 7 plus your con mod times 3 for hit points, and you can see it just basically increases times 4, times 5, times 6, all the way to times 24. But then don't forget, you got feats that you can buy that you can raise your base hit points more and gain even more hit points. Barbarians get feats. You get all these adventures feats, and then starting at 5, which is the second tier, like I'd mentioned, the 3 tiers, you'll get a champion tier starting at 5, and then at level 8, epic, which is the 3rd tier that I mentioned, you get even 3 more epic feats. Now, every class is going to have either class talents, class spells, or something even maybe even something different like songs the bards would get, or battle cries or something. So each class has unique mechanics, and that is something that is awesome as well. And in 13th Age, you get a lot of choices. You get a lot of choices like in D&D 4th edition, how every time you would level, you would get to choose one of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different powers. 13th Age is pretty much set up the same way, and it's not static to where every single barbarian is the same. That would be in D&D, excluding, of course, the different berserking path that they would choose. But perfect example in D&D 5e, every fighter champion is the same from level 1 to 20. You get no freedom on what you want to change up, except for your level 1 fighting style, or your level 10 that you or level 11 when you get the second one, and you can choose another one. So there's really not a lot of customization to it. You know, feats are optional and all that stuff. In 13th Age, you get feats, you get talents, you get raging, you get all kinds of different raging maneuvers that you can choose from, and you're not going to be able to have them all. So you really have to choose wisely. And I like that. I love how everything is robust and there's lots of choices. Some people like that, some people don't. So the last cool thing about classes in D&D in 13th Age, excuse me, is, like I said, there's 10 levels. And at level 1, say you are just a normal fighter and you've got your handy dandy boring 1d8 longsword. All right, you're going to do your 1d8 plus strength modifier damage, okay? And we'll go over here to, and you know, you can see here's the bard, lots of different ballads, songs. You can, you know, twist your songs together. Clerics, they get spells, they get domains, they get talents. There's so many different things. The fighter. All right, so the fighter here, you got your handy dandy, you know, longsword. Now at level 2, you still have that same longsword. So you're going to do 2 weapon damage. So instead of doing 1d8, you would do 2d8. So as you level in 13th Age, you actually see progression on your character. You see the progression, and I like that. So, you know, and you also gain bonus damages depending on your tier. So when you're in tier 1, level 1 to 4, you get to add your strength modifier. And then at the champion tier, which is level 5, 6, and 7, you get to add double your strength modifier to damage. And then when you hit the heroic tier 8, 9, and 10, you get to add times 3. So if you have, you know, at level 10, if you have a 5 strength modifier plus 5, then you would get plus 15 because you triple it. So finally at level 10, that same boring, chances are you'll have a tier 3 weapon by then, which is plus 3. But just a plain normal longsword at level 10 would do 10d8 damage plus triple modifier, which would be 15. So 10d8 plus 15 at the minimum. How cool is that? Why would you not want to swing that sword, hit something, and do 50, 60 points of damage? But remember, the monsters in 13th Age, they're pretty vicious too. And we'll go to the monsters here in just a little bit and we'll talk about them. Alright, so all of the classes really good. Fighters, they get maneuvers. The paladins, they've got talents. The rangers, they can have pets. They can be a melee. They can be an archer. They can do all kinds of different things. Animal companion rules. If you have an animal companion, they're static, and there's the stats for every single level companion. It makes it easy. You don't have to you don't have to look up all these different stats and figure them out. Here they are for you. You can get feats for your companion. You can do all kinds of stuff. You just choose whatever animal you want within reason. If you want a bear, there you go. You got a level 1 animal companion bear. Or if you want a T-Rex, whatever. It don't matter. Rogues, they get assassinate. They get all kinds of different maneuvers. They get class features, talents. They have a pendulum that swings back and forth for attacking and getting off special moves and, you know, stuff like that. So the rogue has a unique mechanic to it. The sorcerer, I mean, guys, it just goes on and on and on with these classes. All kinds of spells. It's really nice. All right, so combat rules. This is the next chapter, chapter 5. Basically, combat works the same as every other D20 game, but there's a couple cool things that that go along with that. Like I said, there's only 10 levels, so you're going to get a +1 to hit and +1 to all your different armors every time you level. So you're going to see that progression for combat. Now, like I said, your weapon damage is also going to increase if you have that same handy dandy rusty longsword at 1d8. It will continue to get more and more weapon damage dies added onto it. Everything works the same. Initiative. Now, there is a unique mechanic for combat. It is called the escalation die. And I can't believe this has not been thought of before 13th Age came out. And it is just an ingenious idea. Now, what the escalation die is it is a D6. When you start combat, the first round of combat, there's no escalation die involved. Now, when you go to round 2, the escalation die becomes 1. Now, what does the escalation die mean? It means this. All players, not monsters, they get a +1 to hit. Not damage, just to hit. So at the end of the second round, it goes to the third round of combat, which would be a 2 on the escalation die. Everybody now for the third round, PCs, not monsters, get +2 to hit. And it goes up all the way till you hit, a 6. So everybody's going to get a +6. It speeds up combat. I like that. But it can also influence monsters. Now, most monsters don't have any kind of mechanic when the escalation die reaches such and such. But the more fearsome monsters, dragons for example, in 13th Age, they can affect the escalation die. So they won't get if the escalation die hits 6, then the dragon can reset it back to 1. That could be one example. So now the party just lost that awesome +6 bonus from the escalation die. Or maybe once the escalation die hits a 6, then the dragon gets another breath. Or maybe if the escalation die is 4 or higher, even or odd, something can happen. There's a lot of even and odds in 13th Age 2, and I absolutely love that with the monster mechanics, and we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. Combat rules, like I said, there's no vision, there's no sight. You have to use light sources or spells. There's disengages. There are attacks of opportunity. There is disengaging, but disengage has the saving throw mechanic involved. So just a typical disengage would cost your standard action, and then you have to roll the saving throw. And this seems, at first I wasn't too keen about this, but when I thought about it more and more, I actually agree with this. And the saving throw means that it was successful. All right? If you fail it, you can still take your attack and stuff. You just don't get to disengage. So I like the saving throw mechanic. And then also, if there's more creatures around you than just the one, then the DC goes up by 1 for every monster past the first monster. So if there's 4 creatures around you and you want to disengage, not only are you going to have a base of a 1, you're going to have 3 more added. So it's going to be a 14 DC, which takes it up to a harder DC. I like that, man. I like that, guys. It's great. So disengaging, really cool. It's unique. It's not in any other games. The escalation die, really, really good, really intuitive. I love it. Speeds up combat, and plus it gives monsters more perks, especially the more tougher types of creatures. And then there was one other thing that I was going to talk about, and that is movement. Now, like I said, there's no movement like there is in D&D 5e, where wood elves get 35 feet, and dwarves and gnomes and the smaller races are screwed at 25 feet. It doesn't work like that. There's no movement at all in 13th Age. Everything is within reason. So, and then there's 2 ranges. There's nearby, and then there's far away. And then there's engaged and not engaged. So if you engage a creature, you are engaged with that creature, you are now considered engaged. Then other people can move freely around you. Now, if you're not engaged, there's also a special thing called intercept. So if you see an orc running towards your mage, and if you're not engaged with a creature, you can do a reaction and you can intercept that creature before it gets to the mage. I really like that. Really cool mechanics, lots of freedom in movement. I really like it. I totally love it, and I'm all for it. So, all kinds of cool things. There's not your traditional two-weapon fighting. Two-weapon fighting is more based on still one attack around, but it more helps you with defenses and stuff like that. And there's things that talk about it. There's all kinds of ways of resting. There's a really nice coup de grace with a critical hit. I do like that. Conditions. There's a total of, I believe, 9 conditions total in the game, and all of them give you -2s and -4s, and not a bunch of other fluff and jumbo that go along with it. And there's no conditions for every single little ticky-tacky thing like in other D20 games. I really like it. Combat is very, very, very fluid and very fun in 13th Age. Alright, so we've already talked about the icon relationships, and this is another thing. We're going into the Game Master section now of the core book, and as you can see, it tells you how to build your encounter. It doesn't hide any information from you like some monster books do, or like Game Master guides from other games. It literally gives you every bit of information you need to create successful encounters. It tells you how to add terrain in, and plus with the new edition of the DM screen, it even goes into that much more detail for the DM or the GM to add more types of terrain. Now, here's all of the different tiers, your Adventure, Champion, and Epic tiers. Here's all your skill DCs. Here's all your trap attacks, the damage for those traps, and impromptu damage from like different terrains, maybe falling rocks or something like that. I mean, it literally gives you all of the information you need. Really good. And last thing about leveling up your character, the good thing about 13th Age, you actually see progression on your character. You don't just, you're not doing the same damage every single level. Even with a +1 or +2 sword at a higher level, you're still doing the same amount of damage pretty much. But in 13th Age, your damage can really start to escalate up there. And spells, they upgrade as well. You can spend feats on more powerful spells. It's great. I mean, it really is. Talks about the icons again, monsters. Now, this is another great thing about 13th Age, the way the monsters are set up in the core book. It literally tells you step by step, choose monster tile art. I mean, it goes into grave detail. 2, what size monster and what strength do you want of the monster? Do you want a mook, which is sort of like minions? Do you want a normal, standard type of creature? Do you want a double strength monster? Or do you want a huge triple strength monster like an ancient dragon? It literally tells you how to make everything. How to come up with the numbers, and at the end of the monsters, it has the charts, which I wish they would have put up front, but I mean, that's something super minor. And then here's how to build the encounters. Whether you want a regular adventure battle, do you want a champion battle, or do you want an epic tier battle? I mean, it literally gives you all the information. Now, the core book has a lot of monsters, everything from animals or critters to dragons to everything. So you can see dire rats, scorpions, all that stuff. Now, this is what I do like about 13th Age as well. For genres of creatures, it will have some features that you can add. Like for the dire animals, every animal in 13th Age, like a hunter spider, giant scorpion, giant ant, rat, web spider, wolf, bear, dire bear, you can make them dire creatures. And here's a bunch of options. 6 different options. You can roll a d6 or you can just choose one, and you can add these dire features onto these, creatures. So if you want a dire hunting spider, throw poison on it, or throw the dire regeneration, or throw them all on there and make like a crazy wicked dire hunting spider. And there's everything from chimeras to demons, all kinds of random demon abilities that you can throw on there. I mean, it's great the way that these things are set up. Now, I want to show you, I believe I want to show you the Balor. Here he is, right here. One of my favorite creatures in any tabletop game, monster, the demon. Now, the Balor, he's pretty crazy. He's got 850 hit points. AC 29, 27 physical defense, 23 magical defense. So you're attacking those numbers. You're not doing a spell and having it do a saving throw. You're attacking that defense. Now, like I said, there's unique mechanics that are involved with 13th Age. Now, the first thing is everything is like a flat damage. So as you can see here, the Abyssal Blade that the Balor is wielding is a plus 18 versus AC, and on a hit it does 160 damage. That's a lot of damage. All right, and then you can see here under the Abyssal Blade, if you hit with a natural even hit, so if the die is an even roll and it's a hit, then the Balor will deal an extra 1d20 lightning damage. So you will roll some damage once in a while, but most of it is just flat static damage. And I like it. It speeds up the game. I really like that. So on a natural even hit, it'll do 1d20 damage to the target, and then to one other nearby enemy, and it can be any nearby enemy within reason. So it doesn't have to be within 10 feet or 15 feet. It could be 35 or 40 feet away, and it'll arc over and hit that target too. I like that. I really love that, especially as being a DM. And then you get to repeat the roll again, and for each person, each point on the escalation die. So if the escalation die is 4, then you get to roll 4 more d20s and do that much more lightning damage. So the higher the escalation die, the more balls of the wall this Balor becomes. Really cool. And then he gets a C, which is a close attack, and it's called Flaming Whip, and it's 18 versus physical defense. And it's one nearby enemy, 50 damage, and then you pull that creature right to the Balor. And then you just follow up with Abyssal Blade. I love it. So there's another crazy skill called Desperate Escalator, and then while staggered, which is basically half hit points are lowered, the Balor will add the escalation die to its attack roll. So that is the rare occasion where the Balor will get to add the escalation die onto his attack. And the requirement is he's got to be 50% life or lower or staggered. Then the Balor has a fiery aura, and then at the start of the Balor's turn, each enemy engaged, remember engaged is you are locked in melee combat with it, and you can be engaged with multiple creatures as well. So they'll take 4d10 fire damage, and then any die result of 10 is kept, it explodes, and you roll it again to do more damage. I love the mechanics that they give these creatures. They're very intuitive, and it's not the same boring d20. And I don't mean boring in a bad way. It's just that when you play the same games for years and years and years, the mechanics in this game are a breath of fresh air with the escalation die, the freedom and creativity with classes, the monsters, etc., and etc. This is a breath of fresh air, and that's probably why I like this game so much. So then the Balor gets flight. He has giant bat wings that are good for something besides looking tough. And I like there's a lot of cool, funny things in this thing too, especially about min-maxers. At one point in the core book, they actually wish that they hope that min-maxers get attacked by a mosquito swarm or something like that. But it's so funny, and they have a good time with it. Now there's also some nastier specials, as you can see. These are optional, and with the Balor has a nastier special called Vorpal Blade. We all know what Vorpal Blade is. Now, the critical hit with the Abyssal Blade attack will deal triple damage instead of double damage on a crit. So there it is. Crits are double damage, so if you crit with the Abyssal Blade, it'll be 320. Then roll your d20s and hope that the escalation die is not very high, because for those escalation dies you just keep doing 20s, and Balors are pretty tough. So as you can see, the mechanics of the monsters can get pretty cool, and it's not like that with every single creature. So, but there you go. There's all kinds of random dragon abilities. So you can add one of these 14 dragon abilities to the many different dragons that they have. And like I said, there is a bestiary. There is a second core book that has more devils and elementals and stuff. And all of the monsters are not regurgitated, meaning the massive 300 and some page bestiary does not have one single monster that the core book has. They're all different. And then the second core book, 13th Age, 13 True Ways, does not have any monsters that are the same. They're all different. So it just gives you more and more options for monsters. Now, here's another cool thing about how they do monsters. You figure, hey, we'll take a look at the kobolds. All right, kobolds were actually redone in last month's PDF because I have the subscription as well, and there were a bunch more kobolds. So instead of, like in other games, there will be just a boring low-level kobold. Not in 13th Age. There are level 1 kobolds, there's level 2 kobolds, there's level 3s, level 5s, and then, it goes up from there. Even in the subscription-based PDF, there's a lot more options. I mean, there's orcs, there's all kinds of orcs here, 1, 2, level 7, level 10 orc. I mean, it has everything, all kinds of different creatures, some that are new that you've never seen, and a lot of different creatures that you're used to seeing, like skeletons, multiple different troglodytes, multiple trolls, vampire spawns, all kinds of different zombies and stuff. So, they have a very robust monster system. And the core book is basic monsters, but the bestiary gets into the more grand monsters. Now, here's these numbers that I was talking about when you're building your monsters, that I wish that this was at the front of the monster section, but it's really no big deal. Now, if you're making normal monsters, here's its attack bonus for a level 0, or if you're making a level 10, here's his attack bonus. Here's how much he's going to do for damage. Here's how many hit points he has. Here's his AC. It's all the numbers are there for you. You just plug them in, guys. You plug them in, you create the crazy names you want for their attacks, add any other special mechanics, and voila, there you go. You're not trying to figure out how they're getting this for this challenge rating creature or for this level creature. It literally tells you. And you can make creatures from 0 level to level 14, which is 4 above the max. If you want to make mooks, mooks are minions. Mooks are another cool mechanic in combat. If you have 50 hit points for the mooks, they have, take for instance, they'll have 5 hit points. They have 1/4 hit points of what a normal creature would have. So a level 1 creature has 20 level 1 creature has 27 hit points. A level 1 mook has 7 hit points. So they have basically 25% health. So if you have 70 hit points for the mooks, you have 10 mooks running towards you. Now if your character does 28 points of damage, that means that his attack just killed 28 hit points for the mooks, or would be 4 mooks. So then the game master would ask the player, hey, describe to me how you just took these 4 mooks down. So the player would then tell you, hey, I did this triple backflip, I uppercutted my blade once, twice, 3 and 4 times, and then I'm just looking at at goblin parts all around me. But still, there's still going to be more mooks around him. So the next round, he would attack again. If he did 14 damage next round, then he would only kill 2 mooks. Really cool. I love the mook mechanic. Then here's all the stats for mooks. Here's all your stats for double strength monsters or large monsters. And then for huge monsters or triple strength monsters, there's all the ridiculous numbers there. So everything is there for you. Now, the next thing is the Dragon Empire, and it has A to Z geography, just like it says. And here's the map again, and then it has all the locations on the map. It talks to all the different places, all kinds of hellholes, all kinds of the seas, the islands. It talks about everything. And we won't go into that. We're just going to talk about the next section, which would be Chapter 9, Magic Items. Magic items are really cool. There's 2 types of magic items. There's permanent magic items, and then there's one-use items. One-use items are like healing potions, resistance potions, oils, and runes. And healing potions, self-explanatory. There's 3 tiers: Adventure, Champion, Epic, and then there's a 4th tier, which is like a special, iconic, very rare potion, and it does X amount of healing. Now, resistances, I love the resistance mechanic, and I probably should have talked about this in the combat portion, but the resistance works like this. If you are resistant with fire, then normal resistance would be if you drink that fire resistance potion. And if the dragon breathes on you, you are resistant to that fire damage unless the natural roll is a 16 or higher from that dragon. So if you quaff the fire resistance potion, the dragon does the attack roll, and it attacks your, I believe it would probably be physical defense on that roll. And if it rolled like a 14 plus probably 15 or 20 to hit, it would probably hit, but you would still be resistant, so you would take, half damage. But if it was a 16 or higher roll plus the bonuses, then you would take the full damage, even though you're resistant. So resistant is a really, really cool mechanic also. Really easy too. Oils, you can get oils that can add +1 to your weapon or +1 to your armor for a combat. So it's like a disposable encounter item. I like it. Runes are the same way, but the runes also can have random effects. So depending on what type of rune you have, maybe an armor rune, maybe the bonus would not only apply to your armor class, but maybe to your physical defense or your magical defense, or maybe it'll affect both. All right. Then there's some other crazy things that can happen too. Maybe a weapon rune will give you +4 bonus to opportunity attacks, or maybe you can reroll 1 missed attack. So it's really cool. I like the way that the runes are. And in the true magic items, they don't really go into creating a bunch of magic items for you. They call them chakras. First off, magic items are chakras, and you can have helmet, chest piece, boots, gloves, and what it does, here's all the different types of, any kind of armor, any kind of like a missile, like an arrow, a bolt, a stone, any kind of belt, any kind of like book, scroll, or grimoire, boots, cloaks, gloves, helmets, necklaces, rings, shields, staffs, holy symbols, or any kind of like religious item that you would need, wands, weapons, ranged weapons, and then wondrous items, which are just totally random. Now, you create the item as the DM, but there is a default bonus for each one of those. So for all of the armor, the default bonus would be armor class. And there, like I said, there's 3. It's still based off of the 3-tier system. +1 would be for level 1 to 4. +2 would be for level 5, 6, and 7. +3 would be for 8, 9, and 10. So every chest piece is a default armor class. And then depending on the they have a book out called the Book of Treasure, and it goes into the 13 icons and what kind of cool quirks and what kind of other bonuses you could put on a piece of armor. Maybe regeneration, or maybe you get a +2 to any kind of disengage check or something. So it's really cool. And then in the player's handbook, it tells you a bunch of different powers that you can put on, your weapons or armor, your belts, and it just breaks it up into the categories again. And I love it. There's no static. You create the items as a DM. I love it. Chapter 10 is a really nice adventure that includes a dragon at the end, and that's it for the core book. And then it also gives you, towards the end, it gives you all kinds of stuff that you can make a DM screen. But the DM screen wasn't out, but it is now. It just came out. I've done a review on that already, so you can take a look at that review. It is in the 13th Age playlist. And it's a beautiful DM screen. Has a lot of information, basically everything you see here, and then some more. So, and then the last thing, they have a character sheet. So there you go, guys. I've rambled on for 57 minutes about 13th Age. And that's just the core book. So, guys, gals, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned a little bit about 13th Age. It is really a great game. It is a traditional D20 game. It has some twists to it. And it's actually, coming from someone that's played D&D since 1984, it is actually a breath of fresh air to see the different mechanics. No movement, universal vision, universal speed, no actually grid movement. You got 35 feet of movement, 20 movement. I love how everything is in broad categories. The freedom of the creation of characters, all of the choices that characters get, all of the the quirks on magic items. So if maybe your magic item is maybe a sword of undead slaying, and if you swing it, then you have to start singing to the group, or some crap like that. So it's awesome, guys. 13th Age has a lot of cool things, and it's a breath of fresh air, like I've said 20 times. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. Please feel free to, I think it touched on everything in the core book. Feel free to leave a comment down below. I'll be checking them. And until tomorrow, I'll be doing the 13th Age, 13 True Ways. It'll be a much shorter video tomorrow. So thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, like it, share it, all that good stuff. See you, everybody.